It is a beautiful day for some DSA, and welcome back to the Cozy Club, my friends. My name is Cozy Gamer, and I hope you guys are cozy and warm because, like I said in my Twitter, right now, California is like Naboo, Florida's like Tatooine, and everything else is like the frozen tundra of Hoth, my friends. So, staying warm, but today we're going to be going over a video that I've wanted to do really since the start of the channel, and I asked you guys and you want to see it. So today we're going to be going over the fundamentals of positioning your characters in Disney Sorcerers Arena. Now, before you just exit out of this video because you don't think it's for you, let me just tell you something. This is one of the most important mechanics to have down in DSA to make sure and ensure yourself for the best chance of victory against your opponent. Really, where you position your characters matters so much within this game because of all the different attacks and strategies out on the field, and you definitely want to give yourselves the best tools and equip yourself to be able to win in live PvP. So today, we're going to be going over the fundamentals, the 101 guide for positioning in DSA. Before we get started with today's video, it has been a while, so a quick shout out to the communities here at the Cozy Club. We've got the Cozy Club Discord, which you guys can find in the description below. Great community to talk about any Disney Sorcerers Arena questions, or just talk about Valheim or the games that we've been playing, Among Us, and so on. I also post all of my graphics from the videos in there, so if you guys are graphical people, go ahead and check out the Discord. And Twitter right now is currently what I'm using the most. This is where I post cool things I see within DSA or communicate with you guys in general. And lastly, we've got the Twitch community, my friends, which if you haven't joined, you are missing out. We do a ton of testing, different segments like the Cozy Cup Tournament and Cozy Tower. And then lastly, guys, we've seen some DSA devs jump on in there, give some stuff to viewers. So awesome experience just joining in all together. So if you want to find out more, go ahead and see the description below. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and start off with the positioning guide. Now, before we kind of jump into the entire positioning guide, we're going to talk about, again, the basics and the fundamentals. Now, you guys might know this, so if you already know this, go ahead and go to the middle of the video. I'll have it labeled down below. But for the basics of positioning within DSA, we need to take a look at the moveset. So you can see right here, we've got Emperor Zurg using Zurg Vision. And this is pretty obvious, guys. This is going to be a single target damage attack, which is only hitting one character out on the field. Another example of a different kind of attack is something you hear a lot in the channel, and I do get comments on this, and that is an AoE attack, or area of effect. So what that's going to be is an attack that can attack everybody on the battlefield, all the enemies at once, sometimes twice like Go-Go, or sometimes like Hades and just doing the big explosion. But AoE is area, and that's going to hit everybody on the field. Now, those are the two simple terms. Let's dive in a little bit deeper and take a look at both flanking and adjacent. Now, this is something that really separates the beginner players from at least intermediate, understanding what these attacks do altogether. So adjacent is a little bit harder to understand, but really it's not that difficult. And then you've got flanking, which is a little bit easier to understand. So let's go ahead. Let's pull up the graphic here, guys. You guys have seen this screen. It is where you plug in your characters. And you guys notice we've got 3 spots in the front and 2 spots in the back. And so this is going to come really important into this video and really important into your DSA team journey to know where to put your characters. You've got beefy characters in this game like Beast and Baymax. You've got really strong hitting characters, but they're really squishy like Go-Go. Or maybe you've got Mickey Mouse and you want people to kill Mickey as fast as possible. Where can you place the characters on your team to have the max effectiveness on the battlefield? So Cozy Club, if you look into your characters' kits, you're going to see the words flanking and adjacent like we talked about. Sometimes this is going to be for your enemies, and sometimes this is going to be for your teammates. And so in this example, you guys can see we've got Big Hero 6 up on the screen. And you guys can notice right here, we've got Baymax in the front, Hero in the back, Go-Go in the middle, and then we've got Honey Lemon and Fred in the top right. So we're going to go ahead and quickly break down what is a flanking attack. Now, flanking is pretty easy, guys. It is just going to be a straight horizontal line across. So if it was a flanking attack like Aladdin's Magic Carpet or Go-Go's Woman Up ability, that is going to go ahead and hit Baymax, Go-Go, and Fred if the front row was chosen, which most of the time with Baymax and that taunt, that's what it's going to be. or if it was in the back row, it would be Hero and Honey Lemon. Now, this is important because for the main part, you want to go ahead and hit that front row, hit more enemies, but it is situational. But flanking, again, is just that horizontal line. So another example, guys, again, it doesn't really matter if the teams change. We'll go ahead and pull up a full Oceanic team here. And you can go ahead and see Maui is in the left side. You've got Moana in the middle. And then to the right is Ursula. So a flanking attack would be super helpful here because you're going to hit Maui, the tank, but also you're going to hit the strong DPS characters of Moana and Ursula. So again, guys, pretty easy. Flanking is a horizontal line, and let's go ahead and jump into adjacent. So adjacent Cozy Club is a little bit more complex, but it still is pretty easy to grasp. So again, we're going to jump and look at the big Hero 6 team here. Again, you've got the same placement as last time. What adjacent is going to do is it's going to hit the one enemy you're focusing on and then the adjacent characters to it. Now, there is some stipulations with this, so let's go ahead and check out the kind of nuances that make adjacent work. Now, if you're attacking this team right here and you attack Go-Go in this image, she is going to go ahead and get hit with the adjacent attack. Like, let's take Force of Nature in Elsa's approach. She's going to go ahead and throw a tornado or a horse at Go-Go, and the adjacent attack is going to hit both Honey Lemon and Hero Hamada, right? So you're going to go ahead and put the silence on Go-Go, and then you've got the two triangles, what is adjacent to Go-Go, taking damage. Now, it gets a little bit trickier because if you see, if we hit Baymax, let's say it's the beginning of the game, that auto taunt is out there, and you hit Baymax with Force of Nature, you're only going to hit Baymax and Hero Hamada, as there's no one to the left of Baymax for that adjacent attack to hit. And so this is going to be very important to understand to make sure you put your tanks in the best position possible, and then also put characters like Ana, who gives haste and extra turn meter to the two adjacent allies, in the right spot. Now, if you've got Ana, for example, on the left side where Baymax is, that's going to be a horrible spot to put her, right? Because she's only doing that her great amazing ability to one character. So you want to make sure not only for your team, but also on the attacks on the enemy, that you're using adjacent the correct way. Now, again, the easiest way to kind of remember this is triangles. And so again, if you hit Honey Lemon in the back, you've got the triangle to both Fred and Go-Go. Or if you hit Hero Hamada, you've got the triangle going to Baymax or Go-Go. And then, of course, if you hit, let's say, Fred, it's going to only hit Honey Lemon. So adjacent attacks are people adjacent, and the sides are a little wonky, but pretty much that's the gist of adjacent and flanking attack. Now, quickly, Cozy Club, let's go ahead and jump into where do you want to place your characters to give yourself the best success against the enemy and against all these attacks that are coming towards you. Now, it is going to depend on the team that you have, and again, if you have people that give out adjacent effects or flanking effects like Simba, then you want to make sure you line people up the correct way. But let's go ahead and break down the general spots that you want to place most of these characters' titles to make the team best work. So as you can see in this image right here, guys, very easy. You've got the left spot over here, or the right spot, really doesn't matter. I prefer the left as it's closer to the camera. That is going to be your tank position. Now, why do you want to put the tank there? It's pretty easy. That is going to take the least amount of damage when it comes to adjacent attacks. Now, you see in Disney Sorcerers Arena, there's a lot of adjacent attacks out there, and you don't want to put your tank in the back row, because then if Baymax is in that back row, 3 characters on your team out of the 5 are getting hit. And so you want to put your tank on that left side, really to just beef them up and make sure the characters around them do not get hurt. Now, there are some kind of pro strats that we'll talk about towards the end of the video, but this is definitely something to take in mind. Now, next up, behind that, because that spot behind is taking a ton of damage, this is your situational spot. And this is going to change on the roster and the team that you have. For best practice, for free to play, for you new people coming in, you want to put your next tankiest character there. Someone that has evasions like Hero Hamada, or just someone that can take a lot of damage. This is not a bad idea, because for the most part, they're going to be able to soak up this damage. Now, again, if they've got a taunt, you want to make sure you maybe don't do that, because you're going to be having the opportunity to hit both adjacent characters. But put your kind of strongest DPS or your strong support in that spot. Now, a quick pro tip is you don't want to put someone like Cobra Bubbles in that spot, because Cobra is going to be passively getting turn meter if characters on his team get hit. And so if Bubbles is there, he's going to be getting hit. And you want another character, again, a beefy character, to get hit instead so that Bubbles gets his turn meter. On the flip side of things, Stitch and Mickey are great to put there because both of them, you kind of want them to get hit in ways. Now, Stitch, not all the way, that's kind of situational, but Mickey, guys, you want him going down as quick as possible, so put him behind Baymax or your tank, and you're forcing people to kill Mickey on the field. So you can definitely force the enemy's hand on who they're attacking just by the positioning of your characters. All right, so we've talked about the tank in the top left, adjacent heavy teams that are going against you. You can have the tank or your second beefiest character in the back. Now let's go ahead and talk about the other spots. So the middle spot and that back right spot are kind of your safe zones or safer zones, just depending on the teams that you're going up against. So that middle spot is a great spot for, let's say, Go-Go or a support like Cobra Bubbles. And then finally, we're going to talk about that top right spot. Now, if you guys obviously know, it's a mirrored pattern, right? So you can put the tank and the tank on either side as long as it's on the edge of the corner. But now, if you're still with me, hold up. We're going to talk about something kind of important, and that's positions change often. And what do I mean by that? Well, your best positioning is going to be against who you're facing. And so if you're free to play, and this is for Sorcerer Tournament, look at your enemies that you keep on playing and see what they use and set up the best position to counter that team. But if this is for live PvP and you're climbing and you're chasing that meta, you want to go ahead and keep track of the meta characters and what their skill set is. So a good kind of form of practice is check out the last tier list that we had out. Look at those S and A plus characters, and you guys can see people like Go-Go with the heavy flanking. That's something we're seeing a lot of at this moment. And so to kind of counter that, you can go ahead and get two tanks, your best tank, let's say on the top left, and your next best tank on the top right, because you know Go-Go is going to go ahead and slam Woman up on that front row of enemies, and they can both tank all those hits. So again, it just kind of depends with the meta ebb and flow of the best attacks. Are they more adjacent heavy meta right now, or is it a more flanking heavy meta? Now, if it's AoE, you're kind of screwed anyway, but there's all kind of tips and tricks that you can do if you kind of just know the move sets of the top teams within DSA. Now, if you choose not to do that, it's not the end of the world. You can typically, again, use this staple right here. Use a one tank for this. If you're doing two tanks, have them on either side. Now, it's probably safe to go with adjacent for the time being, but if you find yourself just getting so sick of those Go-Gos, go ahead and slap up the flanking tanks. Now, the last thing to quickly touch on is chaining attacks, and this one's pretty easy, guys. They're going to be chaining people like Moana or Judy Hopps can hit a lead opponent, and then she's going to go ahead and target and go adjacent and flank across and chain across your entire team, able to go back and forth. However, if you have just Baymax to the left and the character behind Baymax is dead, she's only going to hit Baymax one time. So that's also chaining, not as important, but something you might see, and it might become more popular within DSA. And Cozy Club, that's really it for the basics of positioning. I mean, there are so much little things that you can learn, and with Fairy Slumber getting adjusted or nerfed completely, that's really going to open up the entire positioning chart, because for a while, that adjacent Fairy Slumber really locked down tanks where they're going to be and didn't provide a lot of creativity. So we're going to have to kind of see what spells make it on the top tier as well. But for the time being, you want to go ahead and rock with something like we just talked about. Now, again, I promise you guys a little bit of tips and tricks. So here's some basic things that if you've been watching the Twitch channel, you guys know that I recommend this all the time. So let's go ahead and bring up Beast for a great example. Beast is going to put Shaken on a primary and adjacent opponent, and that is where you're going to really want to think ahead of time. We're seeing a lot of Beast out on the battlefield, and so with Baymax in that left corner, you don't want to put someone like Honey Lemon behind Baymax, because then Honey Lemon is going to become shaken and unable to use any of her debuffs. And so you want to look on your team, who can you place behind Baymax that's shaken or silence or these things that don't really, it's not going to affect them too much. What character can fit that? And right now, if you're using Big Hero 6 or you've got the Hero Baymax, throw Hero Hamada behind Baymax, because really, he doesn't need those debuffs. He can take some hits. He's got great evasion, and that's really the prime candidate to put behind Baymax, unless you've got another big, stacky, beefy option. Now, quickly talking about your teammates giving things to their allies like Anna, like we talked about. Let's take Anna, Elsa, and the Frozen team, for example. This is very easy, and we just talked about Hermes on the last video. So, guys, very easy example here. We want Anna to go ahead and give Elsa that super turn meter and give her haste, but we also want Hermes getting that haste from Anna Or maybe you want to put Hermes behind Elsa because he can extend helpful effects, making the show yourself a lot better. So like I said, there's so many different options, and you really need to look at your team, which I'm going to challenge you guys. Go ahead and like this video and comment below any kind of positioning questions for your specific team. I'll try to get to as many as I can. Go ahead and post, and I'll go and look in those and answer those questions. But that's going to be the main gist of what the positioning is in DSA and just how vital it is, because again, this makes or breaks game decisions sometimes, and this game can just come down to a few select moves. And so the more that you equip yourself, and hopefully the more that you learn from this video, you can then go out there to the arena and definitely take some W's and take the victory. And Cozy Club, that is going to be it for today's video. We actually have the live Q&A with the developers starting today at 5 p.m. PST. The link is going to be down in the comments and in the description below. And guys, if you want to know any other positioning questions, or I didn't cover what you were looking for in this video, go ahead, stop on in, say what's up to me on the Twitch channel, or ask me on Twitter. Either or, pretty responsive. My friends, hopefully you have a great day. Hopefully you learn a little more about positioning 101 in Disney Sorcerers Arena. And until next time, my good friends, stay cozy.